This wood looks dead, gray, dry, faded. The kind of wood most people look at and assume is too far gone to save. And once that happens, the usual next step is expensive. Replace the fence, refinish the deck, buy more stain, spend an entire weekend sanding, scrubbing, and hoping it doesn't still look bad when you're done. But today, I'm testing a simple $2 liquid trick that claims to bring old wood back to life in minutes. No heavy sanding, no complicated tools, no full restoration project, just one cheap liquid, one piece of old wood, and one question. Can this actually make dead wood look brand new again? Because if it can, this is one of those rare home fixes that people instantly care about. Not just because it's satisfying to watch, but because old wood is everywhere. Fences, decks, railings, outdoor furniture, planters, gates. And once wood starts turning gray and lifeless, the whole space starts looking neglected. Even if everything else is clean, dead-looking wood makes the entire home feel older. And this piece right here is the perfect test. Look at the surface closely. The color is almost completely gone. The wood looks dry, sun-beaten, washed out, and rough. There's no richness left in it, no warmth, no life. It doesn't look like wood people want to keep. It looks like wood people want to rip out and replace. That's why this trick is so interesting. Because if a cheap liquid can reverse even part of that damage in just a few minutes, that changes the way people think about old wood completely. And here's the first reason this kind of transformation gets such a strong reaction. The problem is instantly visible. You don't need an expert to understand what's wrong here. You don't need a meter, a chart, or some technical breakdown. You look at the wood and it looks bad. Then if the treatment works, you look again and it looks dramatically better. That kind of visual payoff is powerful because it makes the result obvious in 1 second. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm applying the liquid to only one section first, not the entire board, just one clean strip. Because the fastest way to know whether something is real or fake is to create a direct side-by-side comparison. Same wood, same lighting, same moment. One side treated, one side untouched. And the second this liquid touches the surface, you can already see why people get obsessed with this. Look at that. The color comes back almost instantly. What was flat and gray suddenly turns rich, darker, warmer, and more alive. The grain starts showing again. The surface looks fed instead of starved. It doesn't just look wet, it looks restored. That is the first big payoff. And it happens fast. That matters because most people don't want a 6-hour wood project. They want the kind of result that makes them stop, stare, and think, wait, that's the same board? Now let's keep going, because one stripe is impressive, but a real test means covering more area. As I spread the liquid across the rest of the wood, the contrast becomes even stronger. The untreated side still looks dusty, aged, and almost abandoned. The treated side looks deeper, cleaner, and dramatically more expensive. It's the kind of difference that makes you realize the wood didn't necessarily need to be replaced. It may have just needed the right treatment. And that's the second reason this kind of video works so well. It feels like beating an expensive problem with a cheap fix. People love that. They love seeing a low-cost solution win against a high-cost headache. Because replacing old wood sounds normal, but it's expensive. Hiring someone to restore it sounds smart, but it's expensive too. So when a $2 liquid starts creating a before and after like this in real time, people lock in. They want to see how far it goes. Now, to be fair, this is where a lot of videos start exaggerating. They show the first pass, call it magic, and skip the important part. So let's not do that. Is this making the wood literally brand new? Not exactly, and that's important. If the wood is cracked all the way through, rotting, splintering apart, or structurally damaged, no cheap liquid is going to reverse that. A treatment can improve the appearance, it can enrich the surface, it can help faded wood look dramatically better, but it cannot turn rotten wood into healthy wood. That's the reality check, but appearance matters. A lot. Because most of the time what people hate is not that the wood is unusable, it's that it looks dead. It makes the whole yard feel tired. It makes the deck feel older than it is. It kills curb appeal. So if you can take wood that looks dry and forgotten and make it look rich and maintained again, that is a huge win. And the best part is the moment where the line between old and restored becomes impossible to ignore. You can see it right here. This side is pale, chalky, and rough looking. This side is darker, warmer, and visibly more finished. It looks like two different pieces of wood. That's not a subtle result. That's the kind of result that makes neighbors ask what you used. Now here's a mistake most people make with old wood. They wait too long. They see fading. They ignore it. They see more fading. They ignore it again. Then the wood gets drier, uglier, and harder to bring back. By the time they finally do something, they assume the only answer is a full restoration job. But a lot of outdoor wood problems start as surface neglect, not total failure. Sun exposure strips color, rain wears it down, heat dries it out, dirt builds up. Over time, the wood stops looking cared for. And because it happens slowly, people don't notice how bad it got until one small restored section makes the untreated area look terrible by comparison. That's exactly what's happening here. The more liquid I apply, the uglier the untreated section looks. And that's actually a good sign, because it means the restored area is creating real contrast, not just camera trickery. It means the product is doing something visible enough to expose how faded the original surface really was. This is also where the satisfying factor kicks in. There's something incredibly addictive about watching dull material come back to life. It's the same reason people watch carpet cleaning, car detailing, pressure washing, and paint restoration. You're not just cleaning something, you're recovering something that looked finished. You're revealing what was still there underneath. And wood is especially satisfying because the transformation feels warm. It feels premium. It feels expensive. When old gray wood turns rich again, the whole space immediately feels more polished. Now I'm working the liquid deeper into the board, making sure I'm spreading it evenly so the finish doesn't look patchy. That matters. A sloppy application can ruin even a good result. But when it goes on clean and controlled, the wood starts looking consistently restored instead of randomly wet in one spot and dry in another. And now we're at the part people wait for, the full before and after. Take one last look at the untreated section, lifeless, faded, and weather-beaten. It almost has that dusty gray tone that makes outdoor wood feel cheap, even when it wasn't cheap to begin with. Now compare it to the finished section. The wood grain is back, the color is back. The depth is back. The entire board looks healthier. That is a massive visual upgrade for almost no money. And this is the third reason a transformation like this has viral potential. It delivers payoff early, then keeps improving. You get the first hit the moment the liquid touches the wood. Then the side-by-side gets stronger. Then the larger reveal gets stronger. Then the final before and after lands hardest of all. It keeps giving the viewer a reason to stay, because each stage answers a bigger version of the same question. Did it work a little? Did it work on more surface? Did it hold up across the whole board? Did it actually make a dramatic difference? That's what keeps people watching. And honestly, this is where a lot of expensive home improvement advice gets beaten by something simple. Not always, but sometimes. Because not every ugly surface needs a full rebuild. Sometimes it just needs the right treatment, applied the right way, with realistic expectations. And that's really the smartest way to look at this. This is not a miracle. It's better than that. It's practical. It takes a cheap piece of maintenance and turns it into a visible upgrade. It doesn't promise fantasy. It promises a strong improvement you can actually see. For most homeowners, that's more useful than perfection. So if you've got an old fence, an aging deck, a dry railing, or outdoor furniture that looks one season away from the trash, this is exactly the kind of low-cost test worth trying before you spend serious money replacing anything. Because once wood loses its color, most people assume the damage is permanent. But sometimes it's not dead. Sometimes it's just dry. And once you feed the surface again, the difference is almost shocking. This board started out looking like something people would throw away. Now it looks like something worth saving. And that is the kind of result people remember. So the real question is not whether this wood looked bad before. That part is obvious. The real question is this. If a $2 liquid can do this to one dead board in minutes, what would it do to an entire fence? That's the part people can't stop thinking about. Because once you see one strip come back to life, you don't just want to finish the board. You want to restore everything.